The Gift of Gab Show, your go-to lifestyle podcast, covering everything from psychology and relationships to politics and current events. Live from Chicago, it's the Gift of Gab Show. Gift of Gab Show. Here's your host, Gabby Smith.
Hello, everyone. I am back in the studio with Dana Michelle.
Hey, Gabby.
Hi, Dana. Well, Dana, you are the Gift of Gab Show dating advisor. And on previous podcasts, you have given women a lot of practical dating tips.
Absolutely. Here to help.
All right. Well, we appreciate that because you have told women what courage is rewarded,
That's
right? Be open-minded.
And you got to get off the couch.
Get off that couch, let go of that baggage, and simply go out and try new things.
That's right.
Well, listen, we've talked a lot about dating and how to get your mind right. Well, now we actually have a guy with us in studio to give our female listeners some advice from the male perspective.
That's right.
So we have Marshall Lindsey in studio. Marshall, how are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you guys doing?
Great. Well, thank you for joining us. You know what, Marshall? You are a single African-American male.
That is correct.
Right, with no kids.
That is correct.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I am from the south side of Chicago.
South side.
That's
we
right.
like it. All right. Well, how old are you?
I'm 38.
38. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. So where'd you go to school?
So I went to undergrad in Cleveland, in Case Western.
Okay.
And then I did a couple of graduate degrees, an MBA and a PhD in chemical engineering. And from minorly reputable institutions. And I now work in finance, a circuitous route to get to finance, but that's where I am now.
Wow. So, Marshall, you have a very impressive background.
Thank you.
Right? You got a good resume.
Thank you.
I'm sure when you're out there, women are like, wow, he's got a lot going for himself. So why are you still single?
So I've given some contemplation to that, and I think that some of it has to do with trying to figure out my own personal orientation before I decide to kind of really focus on somebody. And that plus, I mean, there's always the encountering aspect, right? You have to come across someone that brings what's necessary out of you as a dude to focus when you're in a particular place, right? You have to be oriented first, and then you have to have that access. And I guess for me, those two haven't necessarily come together yet. And I might be somewhat of a late bloomer in that space because being in school as long as I have been kind of keeps you in a perpetual state of adolescence.
That's true. Well, okay, so talk to me a little bit about school. So in school, you didn't find or connect with anyone that you felt could be a potential long-term mate?
Yeah, but I think that so the perpetuated state of adolescence is a contributor. That's one aspect. The other aspect is that I went to school in a bunch of different places, like Cleveland, Pittsburgh, and then I came back home to Chicago. So
Okay.
my life was somewhat nomadic, and when it is nomadic, that impacts your approach to how you interact with women in general. Not to say that it's impossible for you to grow roots, but that nomadic mindset was a artifact of me being focused on career, and being so focused on career, like for the majority of my adulthood, it's been career primary, and I didn't start talking about other things outside of career until maybe quaternary, like skip secondary and tertiary. And with that being the case, it's been more of a challenge to put the kind of work that's necessary into self-building that I think positions you for being in a long-term relationship. Because I think guys kind of have to go through a little bit of a transition from youth to adulthood, or when they're ready to actually be in a relationship.
And I think this goes back to the point we've talked about earlier about timing, and about how timing is very important. Men are like cabs.
Or like cabs?
Yeah, that's what they said in Sex and the City.
They do.
And I'm not an avid Sex and the City watcher, so what was the...
So give that analogy, Dana.
So when your cab light is on, that means a man is ready and available and looking to settle down.
Got it.
And the theory from the show is that whoever gets in the cab next...
Got it.
That's the one.
Got it. Well, then maybe some of my experience has been like a cab in New York trying to pick up black people. And so I just have it.
Your cab light is not on right
now.
It's
on, but I might be driving right past.
That's true. Wow. Okay, so what is it that you're looking for? Because, I mean, to be 38, you've got your degrees, you're really focused on yourself and your career, but when it comes to your personal relationships, what is it that you're looking for? What's going to make Marshall happy?
A teammate. And I'm stubborn, and I'm headstrong, and I'm educated in a manner that deviates from a large part of the population. So with that being the case, I need a challenge without being the subject of somebody trying to be domineering. And that's
a balance, right?
Because I mean, like, first of all, you have to be able to present counter arguments to the way that I view the world and how I view life. And so, one, have the ability, to think it's actually important and interesting enough of an endeavor to engage with me, and then couple that with the way that I have the tendency to be challenged in providing security for women.
So you don't mind being challenged by a woman? You
I actually prefer it.
I
prefer it.
Okay.
So in my experience, I've come across two kinds of dudes. One, a guy that actually prefers somebody that's going to challenge and help them get better, and then a guy who, when they come home, the conversation that they get from their counterpart is limited and focused, because they look at it like, I do all this stuff out in the world, I don't need to come home and get challenged at the crib. Where my mindset is, I could be out in the world dulling my knife, and when I come home, I need somebody that I can trust that can help me resharpen that boy, so I can go back into the world.
Absolutely. Have your back.
Yeah.
Right. A teammate, like you said.
Exactly.
Iron sharpens iron.
It's real.
That's great.
It's
I
real.
like that.
But that's, so finding somebody that has that balance between having that interest and wanting to engage that way, and not having their own insecurities stand in the way of how they want to mesh with me and my insecurities. It provides for a challenge, but and I don't make it easy. Like, I'm not the easiest person to be in a relationship with.
So security, a teammate,
yeah,
right, and someone that will challenge you and have your back.
Yeah.
So that seems pretty simple, right? But do you feel like it's impossible to find someone like that? Do you feel like that's being too picky, or I mean, how is your mindset when you are out there? I mean, what are you finding?
I think that the plus and the minus is that, so I just read an article recently that was looking at census data, and it was saying how for every 100 black women, and that's my preference, although I've dated all races, for every 100 black women, there's 83 black men that are available. And so the concept was about missing black men. That was the overall arching title. So from a parity standpoint, women are already at a disadvantage, right?
Absolutely.
But because of that, it's a supply and demand issue, and the supply is significant as far as women is concerned. And in this very article, one of the things that they touched upon was the propensity for males to treat it capitalistically. And when there's a wide range of supply, demand has less of an impact on the selection process. So I'm guilty of that as well. So if I don't have to worry about looking or having this expectation that it's going to be hard to find at least a strong, self-sufficient, accomplished, caring, compassionate woman, then that's going to have an impact on my motivation. So out there, quote unquote, in these streets, is a significant selection of very talented, very attractive in a multitude of ways women, but at the same time, it's still finding that pairing. And like I said, like I'm a unique person in terms of approach and for what I'm looking for.
Well, you raise an interesting point, because I think, though, as men get older, I feel like men have more options. Mm-hmm. And I feel as women get older, they have less options.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for you to say that, I feel like there's just somebody out there. I feel like there's still a pool. I think what happens is that a lot of women feel little nervous, a little tense, right? Because they feel like, oh, I'm getting older. The pool is getting smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
So they start to be a little bit more stressed about it and more
Definitely.
eager. When they find that one, they're like, oh, this is it. And like, you know, we've said on previous podcasts, it's the first day. They're already planning the wedding and, you know, talk about I want your baby and all that stuff. So I feel like you, being that male that is getting older, still has a pool of women.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, but I also think that the economics aspects of it can be hurtful to both sides, to both men and women, right? Because there is something to be, speaking purely scientifically, men live longer if they are in a relationship, right? So companionship has its natural benefit for
Health
us.
benefits.
And at the same time, like, you know, you could be there are those stories of guys finding women later stages in life. And I mean, I have friends and family that are representative of such, but that's still a special circumstance. You know, not everybody has success in that space. And as you get older, it does make it a little bit more difficult. I mean, if you have one group, women, who are super focused on it, and you have dudes who are lackadaisical, then you may run the chance of getting older and finding that focus on the women's part put them into a bunch of relationships, and now they're not available to you.
That's true.
So even though you have a longer time frame for looking, that doesn't mean by the time I'm 65, I'm still going to be like, oh yeah, I can just cast this net wherever.
Right, exactly.
There's a better chance I might be the old dude in the club with the sweater.
Well, let's hope not. Let's
You know
hope
what I'm saying?
you're not that old dude in the club with the Bill Cosby sweater.
That's right.
Well,
Not
listen,
the Cosby sweater.
Mock neck.
so let me ask you then. So when you are out there dating, meeting women of all races, do you feel that women are more focused on getting married versus just dating and having fun?
Yeah, I think that focus is significant. I think it's real. I think it's well placed, based on, you know, how many women are oriented in terms of what they want to accomplish from a family building standpoint. But I think from, you know, my access to your previous conversations, that level of focus, if misplaced, can be detrimental because it exudes.
Right.
You feel it immediately, and guys want to own their decisions. And if we feel that it's influenced, especially early stages, it's going to turn us off.
It's not a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing at all. Well, listen, I've done some research on this, and I've done a lot of research online, different articles stating that some of the reasons why men are still single, you know, could be, you know, you're just in love with yourself, right? You wish to not lose your freedom. You don't have any money. You think you're too smart. You don't think women are good enough. Do you feel like any of these apply to you?
Maybe some of them, not the ones that I would judge as being representative of more so frail character representation, like, you know, thinking that you're better than chicks. I mean, that's utterly ridiculous. But
some men do.
Some men do.
Absolutely.
I think the freedom aspect is important. I think that the power shifting that occurs between men and women, men think about. Because at the beginning of a relationship, we have it, then we get engaged, and then it slowly starts to leak away. And then once you're married, it's all the woman has it. And from my experience with dudes, anytime I've seen them make major decisions that they may not necessarily have been supportive of, it's because it's something that their wife wanted. They went along because they're in that relationship. I mean, I've seen dudes move across country, change jobs, change industries, because it's what their wives wanted. So the power structure changes. So some aspects of your hopes and dreams gone once you actually get married, but you're supposed to replace them with something else, right?
You should.
If you can visualize that and create that with another person, which we can't see when we're first dating.
Well, it's like you said, you got to find that teammate.
Yeah, find that teammate.
Right? That's so important. Well, Marshall, as we wrap up here, do you have any final advice for single women out there looking to date, especially those who have been in a bad breakup and they're just trying to restart and regain their life back and start a new chapter?
A couple of things. One, never underestimate how much you don't know yourself. Ask yourself questions constantly about who you are and where you want to be, and there, you can never go too deep as far as that's concerned, because you need to have as much of an understanding of that before you start to try and engage with another person. Secondly, it helps to be okay with never having a long-term relationship, never having kids. Become comfortable with the reality that it is a privilege to be married. It is a privilege to have children,
and not a right.
It's not a right. Shed your sense of entitlement, and don't be accommodating to the entitlement that you find in men. Set the same standards for yourself that you expect to that you expect to have bestowed on you from the attention from a guy, and don't settle. And if you follow that route, then I think a lot of that those hard to understand feelings, or those senses of pressure that women unknowingly may exude in the process of interacting with a man will diminish. So the freedom aspect, the being okay with where you find yourself and what you create for yourself, definitely helps. But it's not easy. Because both men and women need to do that. Both men and women need to be comfortable with never having it.
Well, that's an interesting point, because a lot of women especially have that dream, as a little girl, they grow up, how's my wedding going to be? How many bridesmaids am I going to have?
Yeah.
They have that idea in their head. So to let go of that is hard.
Yeah, it's one of the worst things that happen to women as far as socialization is concerned. It is. One of the worst things that happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, Dana, Marshall, thank you so much for being with me. Obviously, Marshall, you are just one male, right? Yeah. Just giving your insights on dating. Mm-hmm. And what I've actually decided to do with the show is to do a male dating series. Okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk to different men of different races to see if there's a common thread among men. Because I feel like, you obviously are giving your perspective, your point of view, but there are other men out there that are single that might have a different dating experience. Definitely. So stay tuned, everyone, for those Gift of Gab shows. And listen, if you are on Facebook and you are a single male, hit me up. I want to hear about why you are single. It's really important because I want to hear from you, and I will share your feedback with the listener. So thanks, everyone, for joining me today.
The Gift of Gab show, hosted by Gabby Smith, is sponsored by Bar Louie, located at 1325 South Halsted Street in Chicago. Go there for the handcrafted martinis, 30 beers on tap, and delicious food. Open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. on Fridays and Saturdays. As Bar Louie always says, eat, drink, and be happy. Make sure to check out Gabby Smith at giftofgabshow.com and follow Gabby on Facebook, Gabby Smith, on Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest at Gabby Smith Show. Then stop in and check out her YouTube channel, Gabby Smith.